Good morning, everybody. Welcome to your Rangers Review morning briefing. It is Monday, the 2nd of June. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm joined this morning by Chris Jack. How goes it, Chris?
Not too bad. We're back once again. Whatever I will we talk about now the takeover is done.
Yes, well, you've had quite a busy weekend by all accounts. So fair cracks to you for being the professional that you are and providing the content over the weekend on the website. So thank you for that. Before we discuss all the latest Rangers news, we've got a new sponsor on the channel. So big up to Willow Fencing, Glasgow-based company that you can trust and proud partners of the Rangers Review. They've got over 20 years of experience and unparalleled quality. Their qualified team is dedicated to keeping customers happy and providing exceptional work, aiming to deliver nothing but perfection in every job. And they're also offering viewers to the channel 10% off with the code Rangers Review. All you have to do is head over to willows-fencing.com. That's willows-fencing.com. So if you're looking for a new fence, folks, then these are the guys to call. And a big thank you to Josh for saying my mic. The setting hasn't picked up the mic I'm on, so I'll just press that there. So thank you for that, Josh. Hopefully we'll get this sorted. We'll carry on regardless. So apologise for the quality just now, folks, but having a few technical problems with the old microphone. But we'll touch on the big news over the weekend. Of course, you and Johnny were on with the takeover story, the emergency briefing on Friday, Chris, and over the weekend, Nils Koppen, a lot of speculation surrounding his future. He is heading towards the exit door, and Everton's Dan Purdy looks to be coming in as technical director. Can you explain more about this, about Dan Purdy himself, who he is, and about this change behind the scenes at Rangers?
Well, I just talk for the next 28 minutes, and then it doesn't really matter what your microphone quality is like. Even for me, it might be a bit of a stretch. If I get Stevie on, he could probably crack it. Dan Purdy, as you outlined there, he will become the Rangers technical director. I believe he started work this morning. I'm assuming at 9 o'clock. So I guess he's already at his desk and up and running. I don't think it comes as a major surprise, this move. I think when you have someone like Kevin Thelwell coming in, he's going to want to work with people that he knows, that he trusts, perhaps that he's worked with before. That's just football. We've seen these situations a lot. It's no different to when a manager comes in, they bring their own staff, or a manager comes in and they bring players that they perhaps known or worked with before. So I think there was always a danger on Nils Koppen's position, unfortunately. Overall, I think Nils has done an okay job. I know he takes perhaps a fair bit of criticism amongst the fans. I think he's been at the club at a time when the recruitment has not been good enough. Overall, it's not been good enough. I think he would be honest enough to admit that himself. You look at the players that came in last summer, some good, some not so good, some fairly terrible, and it's the big money ones that will always attract the most attention. It's the big money ones that will always upset people the most. So the likes of Cortez, for example, likes of Bayrami, likes of Proper, not a huge signing in financial terms, but a really important signing in terms of that team. Those three were the ones that didn't really work. They are offset, I think, by Jefty. I think there's a player in there. I think there's definitely a healthy profit in there. Yeah. And obviously they're offset by Hamza Agaman as well. There's going to be a really tidy profit in him for Rangers. So it's not all doom and gloom in terms of Nils Koppen's track record. But I think when you saw the new structure, you saw Kevin Thelwell coming in, I think there was always a danger that this could happen. So as we had on night, exclusively yesterday afternoon, Dan Purdy is the man that will assume that role of technical director.
Yeah, how's my mic? Does it sound okay, Chris?
No, that sounds worse.
Is it what?
That sounds worse.
Oh, dear me. I do apologise, folks. Any better? Is that better?
No, that sounds worse as well.
Right, okay. I'll just head back to what we're on I'll just take that out there. So apologies for the old technical issues here. So let me
this. So I'm now on the laptop, so we'll persevere with this. But yeah, Monday morning blues for myself. Anyway, Dan Purdy, young guy, Chris, only 31 years of age, but he's someone that's worked with Kevin Thelwell before at Everton. So, I mean, there's a bit of familiarity there with the pair of them. He officially starts work this week as well, of course, Kevin Thelwell, although he has been busy behind the scenes. It's left many Rangers fans thinking will there be many more Everton-based appointments down the line, but certainly has achieved quite a fair bit, Dan Purdy, in what is relatively a young career so far.
I think the Rangers fans are just looking for one fairly major appointment this week. Never mind Everton-linked ones. As you say, Dan Purdy, he is like Thelwell in the manner of, this is not Rangers appointing someone and hoping that they can do the job. It's not someone being promoted into a position. Rangers have done that a number of times over recent seasons, and executive roles, and Nils benefited from that as well, and academy roles. They are going for someone like Thelwell who he's got a career. Kevin Thelwell has got a track record in that sporting director of football role. Dan Purdy has a track record in a recruitment role, and as a head of recruitment. So he's been there for Everton just over about 3 years or so, I think, in that head of recruitment role. He was previously overseeing the scouting operations for a number of years. He's worked for consultancy firms, worked for Liverpool and Sheffield United back in his early days as well. I say early days, as you outlined, he's still only a young man himself. So yeah, he's got experience in this type of role. He should be able to come in and make an immediate impact. His name's been doing the rounds for a couple of weeks, and it's never really gone away. Obviously, we then got the shout yesterday that this one was confirmed with Nils leaving. I say Dan Purdy is the man that will come into that technical director role. So the off-field structure, even feeding back into what myself and Johnny spoke about on the show the other night or the other afternoon there. You've now got a new chairman, you've got a new vice chairman, you've got new board members, you've got a new sporting director, you've got a new technical director. Sorry, that structure is very much in place. It's very much set. Could we see other tweaks in and around the club in different areas? I would expect so. But that looks like that's your main core of people that are going to run Rangers through this summer, through this transfer window, and really try and get them off and running. Of course, the main one that's missing is the manager.
Yes. As Dougal says, it's a new manager, please. How realistic do you think this week we'll get? I mean, the new owners have come in and they're already starting to make moves with regards to the structure at the club. Chris, that is a big one, as you say. Lots of noise over the last month or so about who is going to take over as Rangers boss. Davide Ancelotti still set to be the front runner. I mean, there is a bit of a clamour for Russell Martin, not from Rangers supporters that I've been speaking with, that's for sure, but there seems to be noise surrounding him that hasn't gone away. Steven Gerrard is fallen away, of course, but it seems to be a two-horse race of the two. I think Ancelotti would be my pick, but where are we with regards to that? Do we get a clear decision on the direction Rangers are going to go in with regards to the manager this week?
There really has to be, doesn't there? There would be no excuse for it now. With the takeover done, with the new board in place, with Thelwell and Purdy in place, there's no excuse for Rangers not having a manager over the next few days. They have to get cracking on it. They've obviously been working on it for a while. They have to get cracking in terms of getting someone in and getting them off and running. Rangers back 3 weeks today, pre-season training, and you think at the camp down at St George's Park. First couple of friendlies already been confirmed. That Champions League date is already 6-7 weeks away, already looming large as well. So they have to make a bit of progress on this week. I asked a couple of people on it last night. I asked again this morning. No one willing to commit themselves on it right now. But I think we will see something over the next couple of days. There's no excuse for Rangers not having a manager by the end of this week. So fingers crossed. And once that's done, it's then all systems go on transfer rumours, and it's going to be a busy old summer for us boys on this show, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk about some rumours in a minute. Blue Nose John says, will Kevin Thelwell be introduced to the media today? When he was announced as the new sporting director, he did a little introductory piece with Rangers TV, but would you expect a sort of press conference of such with him, Chris? I want to hear from the new owners as well. I'd love to a sort of big press conference hearing from Andrew Kavanagh and Parag Marathi would be fantastic at some point. But Kevin Thelwell, do you think we'll hear from him?
It would be nice. I would like to sit down in front of him and get a chat and see what he's got to say, see what he's like as a guy, find out a bit more about his vision. In terms of John's comment, there's nothing planned for today as far as I know. So they're either an invite very, very late, or we've just not been invited, which would be unusual. So there's nothing planned for today. I think when the manager does do his press conference, again, hopefully by the end of this week, Kevin Thelwell will be able to actually sit at the table. If the manager had come in a fortnight ago, having technically not started as a Rangers employee, it wouldn't have looked right and it wouldn't have sat right. So now that Thelwell is in, it allows him to finalise that managerial appointment and be there for the actual unveiling. So you can imagine when there's a manager sitting in the middle seat, Thelwell will be one side, Patrick Stewart will be the other side, and hopefully that will happen over the next few days.
Yeah, let's absolutely hope that will happen. A big thank you to Jeep, good friend of the show, has donated to the channel. That's very kind of you, Jeep. Thank you for that, praising us for our hard work. More so, Chris, more than anything else. I wasn't as busy this weekend, that's for sure. But there may be an emergency briefing or two perhaps this week. Let's hope there is, because that means that there is stuff happening at Ibrox. Let's discuss transfer rumours then over the weekend, because a few murmurings about players leaving the club, Chris, as is often the case with regards to Ridvan Yilmaz. There's not a transfer window that goes by without him being linked with a move back to his homeland. And there's a report suggesting that Besiktas have agreed a deal to bring him back to the club. And he's someone that has had injury problems ever since he's been at Rangers. We've both said, I think, on a video that if Rangers can move him on this summer, then I think that would be the best move all round. I stand by that he's just a nice lad, but just immensely frustrating. You never get a consistent run of games out of the guy, and Rangers simply can't afford a guy on that money to be in the stands for such a long period of time. If they can get him out, then I'm all for that.
It's a transfer fee and thousands of pounds a week that can be recycled and used in a better way. I would be really surprised if Ridvan, as a Rangers player, come the end of this transfer window, I think if there's a decent left back in there, but it's not there often enough. I think we've both said a number of times, feels like we've come back to this point every 6-7 weeks or so. At times, he's just not reliable enough. The injury record cannot be overlooked. It can't be talked round. And if this latest interest from Turkey, of which there has been lots of it over the last, I think it was linked with Turkey the day that he signed for Rangers. There's just so many, so many of these stories over time. Hopefully, this one has got a bit more substance to it and a bit more legs in it. I think now is the time for him to move on. Rangers, they have to look at the full-back areas this summer. Have to look at every area, obviously. But I think if they can get a more robust, a more reliable, a higher quality left back in there, it improves the team, it improves the squad. I think it helps Jefty a lot as well. You don't then ask as big a question of him next year. You don't put as much pressure on him next year, and you allow him to grow and hopefully improve. So that left back role, it has to be addressed, and the first stage in that is allowing Ridvan to move on.
Yeah, the publication is Aspor, which is a Turkish publication suggesting that an agreement has been reached. So it's one we'll keep an eye on in the coming days, but it looks like he could be on his way. Went over for the Fenerbahce game, was actually staying in the Besiktas area. In one of the Besiktas Ultras shops and speaking to an old guy who knew Ridvan. So I'm sure he'll be absolutely delighted that he could be coming back to play for them, under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, of course, who is the manager there. Another player that's been linked with a move away, newspaper reports yesterday, Chris, and that is Everton said to be keeping tabs on Mohamed Diomande. Wasn't someone that I was thinking about Rangers moving him on in the summer, but again, every player has their price. It remains to be seen if that interest will turn out into a bid of some distinction, and then you're wondering how much would he be worth to Rangers to move him on. I know they paid, was it a little over £4 million to bring him in initially? He's a player I wouldn't want to lose this summer, Chris, but as I touched on there, if an offer comes in that's too good to refuse, then he too may be on his way.
I think we ran through the squad second last week of the season. One of the games we both ran through the match day squad and said, no, who would you keep? Who would you move on? And Dio was not one that we both thought he's definitely heading for the exit door this summer. I think he's one that you would, in an ideal world, you would look to add to the midfield. If you could end the summer with Raskin, with Diomande, with Barron and Cameron, and another high-quality midfielder in there, Rangers are then looking in, feeling in shape in the middle of the pitch. The flip side of that scenario is you sell Raskin because it's time for him to move on. You sell Diomande because it's time for him to move on, and that then leaves you quite a lot of work to do to go and try and replace them. I think Diomande at times, he has been really impressive in certain types of games. He's showed up well in some Old Firm games, European games. The style suits him a whole lot better. And some of the more end-to-end, a bit more frantic, a bit more ragged domestic games doesn't really suit him. You have to get him on the ball. You have to play through him. You have to allow him to have as much influence with the ball at his feet as possible. A lot of last season, Rangers just didn't play in a way that suited him. In a side that is more dominant with the ball, could that bring out the best in him? I think it could. Is there more to come from him? I think there is. But it then becomes a case of what kind of offer is actually too good to turn down for a guy who, as you say, signed for 4. You're easily looking to double, treble your money on him.
Yes.
He feeds into that player trading model that we've spoke so much about over the years. At times, you have to sell players when it just feels right and it just suits. Might not be the best thing for the team right now, but it could be the best thing for the player. It's a great move for him potentially. It could be the best thing for the squad if you can then have those funds to go and reinvest in other areas. There was a lot of talk over the weekend about the 20 million that has been committed from the consortium. A lot of that, the majority of that, will go straight into the transfer budget. That's not going to be all of the transfer budget. There will be other bits to come as well. So, and a big part of that to come is obviously the what you can bring in from player sales. So that's where Raskin comes in. That's where Diomande comes in. So I think that would be a really good move for him. He's not someone I would be actively looking to sell, but if the money's right, then I think there's definitely a possibility that he moves on.
Yeah, if he does move on, then I would be more inclined to get a deal thrashed out for Nico Raskin. I don't want to be losing the pair of them this summer, I would say. But yeah, like you, Chris, I would be looking at least trebling my money in Mohamed Diomande. Everton are flush with cash. So I've said it before, I don't want Rangers selling guys on the cheap. But as we speak, there's been some, is it breaking news? Rangers have released a statement on their social media channels. I love it when this happens. You can tell we're live. So Rangers have released a statement. Rangers representatives appointed onto the SFA and SPFL committee. So I'll run you through what it says, folks. Rangers will be well represented across a number of Scottish football committees and working groups during the 2025-26 season, with several members of the club's leadership team contributing to key areas of the game's governance and development. Fraser Thornton, board director, has been named to the SPFL Remuneration and Appointments Committee, where he will support decisions around executive appointments and compensation policy across the SPFL. James Taylor, Rangers Chief Finance Officer, has been appointed to the SPFL Audit Committee, where he'll support the oversight of financial governance of the league. Sporting Director Kevin Thelwell will contribute to 2 important areas, having been appointed to both the Compensation Tribunal Working Group and the SPFL Competitions Working Group, which is responsible for reviewing the competitive structure of the SPFL. Donald Gillis, Rangers Managing Director of Women's and Girls Football, has been appointed as an SPFL representative to the Scottish FA Congress for a 2-year term, contributing to the strategic discussions relating to the National Association. Gillis also remains on the board of the SWPL. Head of Safety, Security and Resilience, Darren Falls, will represent the club on the SPFL Policing Working Group alongside other clubs and authorities on matchday safety and public order matters. Rangers Company Secretary and Legal Director Graham Horseman will take on a board remit with appointments to 3 separate groups: the SPFL Rules and Regulations Review Working Group, the SFA Rules Revision Group, and the JPP Judicial Panel Protocol Working Group. These bodies are tasked with advising on the regulatory framework that underpins professional football in Scotland. Chief Comms and Marketing Officer Greg Miller will represent Rangers on the Scottish Football Marketing Commercial Advisory Board, helping to shape the marketing strategy for the game alongside peers from across the league. Patrick Stewart will stand for election onto the board of the SPFL on the 24th of June. And Patrick Stewart has commented, he says Rangers is committed to being a force for good in Scottish football. That means not only contributing ideas and energy to help the game grow, but also playing our part in asking the right questions and helping raise standards across the board. These appointments and nomination collectively demonstrate the club's determination to play a full and constructive part in Scottish football's decision-making and to ensure that Rangers' voice is heard on matters of importance. So there you go, Chris. A lot of appointments behind the scenes there. Rangers, of course, it looks like they're going to have a lot more influence with the running of the game in Scotland, which can only be a good thing.
See, we promised you Rangers appointments on the show, and we have delivered. We have delivered Rangers appointments. Never said we're not good to our word. I think it's a fairly extensive list of appointments there. There's a lot of working groups, a lot of committees, and a lot of anagrams in there. But bigger picture, it's good from a Rangers perspective. Now they have, they've not always had the influence that a club of their size, stature, should have had over the years. They have various stages over recent seasons. They've been more likely to pick fights rather than make friends and influence people. So I think it's only good that they are looking to have as much influence in the game as possible. Some of these boards are obviously very quite paperwork orientated. Not a lot of them will bring out like huge changes amongst how the game is run and how the game is operated, and obviously it won't have any impact in terms of Rangers on the field. But I think the more meetings that you can be in, the more boards that you can be on, the more influence you can have. It's clearly a good thing, and it's something that Rangers they haven't had a lot of over the years. I think they've paid the price for that. Now, we know their position on Doncaster, for example. We know their position on referees. We know their position on how the game has been marketed and how it's been sold. Releasing statements is one part of how you build a bit of pressure, but ultimately you need to have friends in and around the game. You need to be able to call on support from other like-minded clubs. You need to be able to build relationships and build bonds, and that's something that I said the club haven't had enough of for too long. So hopefully these appointments and some new faces, obviously, hopefully that's a step in the right direction for that.
Yeah, I love this. New owners walking into the SPFL boardroom like Team America, which is a cracking film. But things are happening, which is good. It's good to have Rangers representation in these sort of departments. And that quote from Patrick Stewart is a very interesting one, asking the right questions and helping raise standards across the board. You touched on there the refereeing side of things. Alan says, I need someone on the VAR committee. Absolutely do. I think it's important Rangers do have guys in there that represent the club, especially on with regards to the refereeing side of things. I've seen the Willie Collum show that came out over the last few days, and it really beggars belief, really, where we are as a game. If we can't see that a ball is over the line as much as it was at Easter Road. But as I've said on videos before, I can't see the officiating improving unless we get a whole entire revamp of hierarchy at top of referees and the top of the SFA as well. But this is a step in the right direction. I think that is no question about that. What do you make of that video over the weekend, Chris? Willie Collum sort of doubling down on that, saying they never had the angles to see that the ball had crossed the line at Easter Road at the time.
I don't think it's going to convince many people, is it? It's not I don't think there's many Rangers fans a fortnight on or 3 weeks on from the event, like they sit down and watch that video and think, actually, Willie is right, and fair play to the officials for making that bold and brave call on the day. It was a terrible decision on the day. It remains a terrible decision all these days on. How, as you say, how far over the line does the ball have to be before you can say it's conclusive? Does it have to have Velcro on it and stick to the back of the net before you can say it's definitely over the line? It hit the inside of the post and hit the side net. For me, now we said it live after the game. We said it in the days afterwards. They clearly got it wrong, and no way of talking themselves out it was going to influence that. So Rangers fans, they'll not be buying it. But it's not a massive surprise. I think Willie, over the course and piece, he has he's been critical of certain decisions. I think it's overall that show has been quite good this season. I think it's nice to see him come out and explain certain decisions. Don't always agree with those decisions, don't always agree with interpretations of them, but I think at least it's a bit more open, it's a bit more transparent. So fair play to Willie and the SFA for doing it. But heading into next season, the standard of officiating in this country, it just has to improve. And if that needs further investment in terms of
definitely need it.
You then have a camera dead on the goal line so you can see incidents like that, or you have to have the chip in the ball with the signal to referees watch. That has to be the next step. You can't have decisions in goals being chopped off or offside where they're drawing lines at millimetres, but then you have one like that and it's yards, not millimetres.
In the game, it really does. The game.
There is no more important thing in a game than a goal being scored. If Rangers had scored that goal that day, I think they got in to win the game. And it's a very different afternoon. So they have to find a way to improve the technology, improve the use of the technology, and more importantly, the easiest one to solve, improve the standard of refereeing, because it's not been anywhere near good enough over the course of this season.
No, the point here, all well and good Willie being critical, but the standard is absolutely shocking. He's ahead of it. Absolutely. The SFA had a chance to be radical when they were looking for a replacement for Crawford Allen at the time. And despite Mulroney saying that they had applications from all across the globe, that Willie Collum was at the standout candidate, which I just refuse to believe. But unfortunately, I see more contentious decisions featuring on the show next season. But they need to invest in goal-like technology for a start, more angles. If they are sticking by VR, let's be honest, the clubs are paying a lot of money for this technology. And we've been on the receiving end of some huge gaffes last season, and that simply cannot continue. Right, we'll wrap up there for now. Big thank you to you all for tuning in to the show as ever. Very much appreciated, folks. Big thank you to Chris, as always, as well. Those of you that are Rangers Review Extra members will record our weekly Q&A this afternoon. So at usual time, 2 p.m, we'll get the post out on the community page a little later on. So get your questions in, folks, and we'll speak to you then. If we don't chat again, if there's no other news breaking over the course of the day, then I'll be back on with Joshua, who's back from sunnier climes. He was sunning himself over in Sorrento a well-deserved break. What a time to take off, Chris, eh?
It has been noted. Don't you worry about that. It's been noted, and it will be cast up more than once over the course of the summer. I think it was good for Josh to go and get himself a bit of a break. It's just one of these things that everything all kind of landed at once, with the manager search spilling over into another week, and then obviously the takeover being a busy couple of days. But I said to someone over the weekend, you would rather have a busy day like that when you're reporting on good stories and some good news and exciting stuff, rather than some of the other sides of it that we've had over the years. So I hope people have enjoyed what we've been able to produce over the course of the weekend, in terms of the big Q&A that we had from the takeover news. We've had some Dave King interviews. I have to give a shout out to my Parag Marat profile piece that was on the site yesterday as well. So hopefully people enjoy what we've been able to do takeover wise, and much more to come as the managerial search comes to a close.
Yep, do go check out the website, folks. Again, it's cracking value at the moment, just £1 for 6 months, which is ridiculous, really. So head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. That is totally free, of course, to keep up to date with all the latest news coming out from Ibrox. Right, if I don't chat to you again, enjoy your Monday, and we'll speak to you again soon. Bye for now.